Welcome our keynote speaker of the morning, Chris Brill.
Very much for the invite. As I said, my name is Chris Brill, and I work for the Quality Challenge Unit. That's who we are. We work to further and support the quality and diversity of staff and students in higher education. So we promote work around equality and diversity, we shape the practice across institutions, look at staff and student issues. Now, I've been asked to talk today a little bit about some of the current or political drivers of the policy landscape at the moment. I think it's fair to say that if I was speaking 6 months ago, it would be quite a different discussion. But today, I think it's more important than ever that people really consider issues around inclusivity, accessibility, and equality and diversity. Now, I have a confession that I personally am one of these people who just thinks that accessible services and inclusivity should really just be part of the course, and that there's really kind of a moral imperative to produce services that are accessible to everybody. But I'm aware that not everybody may think that way, and so what I'm going to talk about today is some of the more kind of strategic and the political drivers that are pushing this agenda, and the kind of things that are important to Vice Chancellors and other people in the sector to really kind of drive the work that people are doing. Now, there is a legal case around accessible services, around disability and reasonable adjustment. But what I want to focus on is really three key kind of political or policy drivers. So that's work around social mobility, around teaching excellence framework, and also the recent reforms to the DSA. So to start off with, I think it's helpful to look at some statistics, demographics, to look at the change in sort of participation rates of students within higher education, and then look at some of the drivers that are looking at change those data and increase those differences. Then I want to sort of look at more around the sort of differential outcomes that people are receiving within HE, and again some of the drivers around looking to decrease those differentials. Now, throughout the day, I know you're going to hear some sort of excellent kind of practical suggestions and practical examples of things that people are doing. But I'd also like to kind of make sure there is time for discussion within this session now. We've got sort of 45 minutes, so we'll try and have a couple of opportunities for people to talk about some of the things that they're doing as well. I thought I'd start off as the best way to start anything off really is a quiz. To try and remove the dryness of 6 different questions. So, the first one, in 2014-15, what was the percentage of students that are disclosed as disabled? So if we can just have some hands up. So who thinks A, 5%? Got one. B, 7. C, 11. Cheating. D, 13. Yeah, D, 15. So it is actually 11%, much higher than the percentage of disabled staff in higher education, which stands at about 4.5%. But it's still lower than the percentage of working age people, disabled people that are in employment. So there's still, it's quite a reasonably high figure, but it's still lower than the percentage within the working age population, within the all age population as well. Now, of those disabled students, how many are disclosed a mental health condition? So within that disabled student profile, so we've got A, 5%, B, 7, C, 11, D, 13, and E, 15. So yeah, it is E, 15%. So I think quite a lot higher than what people would imagine. I think that the sort of general public, when people think about disability and disabled people, I think they tend to think around sort of physical impairments and mobility issues. I think it's important to consider there's actually only about 3.5% of disabled students have a physical impairment or mobility issue. The range of impairment types is much broader than what was particularly considered. So mental health conditions is 15%, specific learning difficulties, so things like dyslexia, that's coming up to around sort of 50%. So I think when we're thinking about our services being accessible to disabled students, really need to have that mindset that we're not talking about the physical environment. That is very important. A lot of it is about other ways that the services are provided, and it'd be really interesting to hear some of the things that we'll be talking about later around that. Next question. So the percentage of students who are BME has increased from 18% in 2009 to what percent in 2014-15? 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So the actual number had increased to 21%. Brought this table of statistics, that's too much for everyone to look, very inaccessible as well, but you're going to have all these slides. Actually, the numbers have increased across a variety of different ethnicity types, apart from Chinese ethnicity, which has remained reasonably level. Across other ethnicity types, there has been an increase. The government has got a target around increasing the number of BME students, which we'll talk about shortly. And the final question for now. What percentage of students studying subjects allied to education are men, compared to, given that it's 83.3% of those studying engineering and technology are men, what percentage? That's to be quick, I reckon. Is it A, 24, B, 38, C, 51, D, 64, and E, 83? So yeah, so that was A, it's only 24%. And of course you can then sort of flip those statistics to consider that women are underrepresented. So the reason I highlight this is although kind of overall levels, it's about 50-50, it's not quite 50-50. When you go into particular subject areas, there's a huge variety by each subject. This is something where we are looking at increasing targets around gender breakdown, and also it will be disability and ethnicity. We really do need to be thinking this at a subject level. So to summarise those kind of the current participation trends that are happening in HE, there's an increase in the number of disabled students. There's also an increase in the number of students who are disclosing a mental health condition. There's increases in the number of BME students. And particular groups are underrepresented on many courses. There's a huge variety across different courses. Now, also there's, and I think society-wise, there is a kind of moving towards a more Asian population. So the actual numbers of sort of 17-year-old students as a proportion is decreasing as well. Now, the statistics that I've shown are from 2014, so there might be some sort of changes since then. But the other thing to be wary of is that these are national statistics. So those proportions will be very different in each of your institutions. Now, national statistics tend to be what do drive and kind of initiate government policy and policies in this area. But when we're thinking about what we're doing at our own institution and what the picture is at our own institution, we really do need to look at our own data. It will be very different. So in terms of the sort of general, we'll start with a general policy context before looking at a couple of sort of HE things in particular. So in the last few years there have been some funding cuts, and so that will have had an effect on sort of staff recruitment and retention, and also the workload of staff working in service. There's been a change in terms of fees, and also with the 18-year-old English population declining. There's been more of a focus relating to this around part-time students and mature students. So with particular loans have been offered now to those sort of students. And there's also obviously been the vote on Brexit. So I don't get paid enough to know what this means for everybody. I think the general sort of feeling is that it's going to have an effect on the student recruitment from EU students. particularly also kind of partnerships that universities might have with other institutions, and there have, I think, certainly been some societal tensions. There's been an increase in sort of hate crime since the referendum. And so thinking about these sort of student numbers and the EU student numbers is something that I think is going to be really at the forefront of what VCs are thinking about at the moment. There's recently been a hefty report around sort of the financial health of the sector, and that outlined, the report was actually from just before the vote, and so that said that the HE sector was in very, very good health at that time, but a lot of the projected income was around increasing numbers of EU students, and now that that is likely to change, this is something that I think again the sector will be thinking about. Yeah. There's been a long drive around internationalisation, and what will that now look like? Those are sort of the broader ones. The particular thing around sort of participation that I'd like to think about is really this agenda around social mobility. Now, social mobility has historically, I think within HE, really focused on socio-economic status. But now there's a lot more of an increase in considering things around other equality characteristics, so around disability, ethnicity and gender. So there was a HE white paper and then a letter from Joe Johnson MP last year, where within it he's set out some targets for the HE sector, which will align, I think, with some of the statistics that I've opened up with. So Joe Johnson's called for a doubling of the proportion of people from disadvantaged groups. Again, here just use the word disadvantaged, not particularly spelled out, but some of the groups that he has in mind are white working class boys. He's talking about that a lot. Also, he set a statistic around increasing the number of BME students by 20% by 2020. So if we went back here, he wants an increase from those figures in 2009-10. So again, within your institutions, I think that people are going to be looking at what were your numbers in 2009-10, and then working from there as to what the target to increase by 2020. I'm not sure if this is true, but I've heard that he's chosen 20% because 20 by 2020 sounds nice, rather than being anything particularly profound sort of census statistic. Okay, so he wanted to increase the numbers to 20% by 2020. Also, social mobility historically, again, around access into students into HE. But he's really pushing some focus on improving degree attainment and graduate outcomes for BME students. And again, I think that's a critical role within what services have to play there. The accessibility of their services, how they're used by all students, and all students are making the most of the services that are provided. Those are all going to be things that can really help improve degree attainment and graduate outcomes. He's also talking about reducing barriers for disabled students, particularly around entry into HE. Now, the statistics have shown the numbers of disabled students, it is below, they are slightly underrepresented, but not by a huge amount. But they are certainly facing barriers, and we'll talk a little bit about the sort of DSA changes later and how services are going to have to consider that. But I think, in particular, around reducing barriers for disabled students is again this point that disabled students aren't a homogenous group with exceptional variety across the disabled student population, exceptional variety of different impairment types. And so students will be facing very many different barriers. So although the numbers of disabled students is not massively underrepresented, there are groups such as students with autism that are underrepresented. And a lot of work can be done towards supporting those students with their transitions. And that's something I think I hope will come out throughout the day. He's also asked to consider the role of data and how that can support social mobility objectives. And finally, around evaluating the impact of these progress towards these objectives. He set up a social mobility advisory group. So the link here, everyone will receive the slides. They've just finally reported on their work over the last year. in the publication Working in Partnership. So this Social Mobility Advisory Group has a series of recommendations, predominantly around sort of the outreach work that universities do, but a lot around data as well. So for example, in trying to increase the number of students from underrepresented groups into HE, there's been a lot of focus within this report around raising the sort of the academic standards or the academic level of school leaders, and the universities having a key role in that, and not just being left to schools. So that will be something that I think wider participation outreach teams are going to be focusing on. There's also been a Social Mobility Commission who've released a State of the Nation 2016 report. This is a kind of public sector-wide report, not just focusing on HE, but it has got a recommendation that social mobility reputation for universities might be included in a sort of annual social mobility league table. So again, this might help, if you like league tables. It might kind of bring this more to the forefront of sort of work in the area. So what I'd like to do is just for 5 minutes, because it's quite boring, isn't it, to me, 45 minutes. I think one of the real focuses, and some has been mentioned already, is around sort of data and collecting data and using that to evaluate services. So I was wondering if just for say 5 minutes on your tables, if you could just discuss, like, do you currently use data at all to kind of to monitor your services or evaluate it, and has that been helpful? Have you done things resulting from it? So we could just spend sort of 5 minutes, and then I think sort of share, if there's any particularly interesting ideas, we can share them with everyone. So it's 10 o'clock now, so we just went to say that about 5 past 10. So we can just all sort of bring it back. So what was the general talking? Are people collecting data at the moment to collect data on their services?
Hello. So just a quick make sure the mic works. We were talking about how we collect a range of data and how we work with universities on a slightly higher level to use the data that they collect as well. I think general consensus is that we could use it slightly better than we do. And I suppose it's about trying to understand how the university itself is setting its targets and moving forward, and then how the library then fits into that as well. And we spoke about quantitative data, but also quantitative stuff as well, so going out and talking to people rather than just doing surveys and getting feedback from numbers.
We in the library we collect statistics from our students who use our services, both part-time and distance users and disabled students, and that's around which services they use, suggestions for improvements. We collect statistics about the emails we get, number of drop-in visits, equipment loan, that sort of thing, and we find that helps us inform funding requests. That's quite helpful. We also work with disability services and we share data with them as well, so we can make better use of what we know when we're meeting and things to try to find things.
That's really helpful, thank you. I think data collections are really, it's a big driver, I think, at the moment. A lot of current government, a lot of their policies around HE are to do with sort of data monitoring and collecting and evaluating to make sure that services are inclusive, and they are some of the procedures and some of the initiatives that happen in our working. I think it's going to become quite a trend to start with this. And in terms of sort of accessibility with disabled students, it really is quite critical, I think, to make sure we're constantly seeking feedback and evaluating from disabled students so that you can make any kind of changes to the accessibility. As I've highlighted, the group, the sort of disabled students, is such a varied group, such a range of impairment types. I think it is crucial that feedback is constantly sought so that you can think of all the barriers, because you need to know, you need to have that voice from students themselves to make sure that barriers can be removed. So again, I think for those that aren't sort of collecting data, I think now's the time to start to push forward with doing that. And also kind of this point that was raised about working with disabled disability services, I think again that's going to become quite a key thing in the future. If we move from social mobility now, so to look more at kind of the different outcomes that people are having when they're at university itself. So we've got two statistics here. The first one around the degree attainment gap. So this is the difference between the proportion of, say, white students that receive a first or a 2-1 and the proportion of BME students that receive a first or a 2-1. So the next question, so the degree attainment gap between white students and BME students currently stands at what percent? Is it 0, 5, 10, 15, 20? It's actually, so it's 15%. It was quite a lot higher. That gap is now decreasing. So that's positive. There's been some positive work within the university, but the gap is still far too high. It's far too high. This is a national statistic. Again, I want to make sure that you caveat this. Those national statistics will hide differences within different universities and across different subject types. So when you're looking at your work around that, then make sure you're thinking about your institution, what that relates to different subjects. The final statistic I'd like to just talk through is around employment. So 6 months after graduation, what percentage of disabled students are unemployed compared to 5% of non-disabled students? So is it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? So most people have gone for it. It's actually, at the moment, it's 7%. It's still a difference, so it's a couple of percent difference. Now, I'm not going to talk about it too much today, but the government also is, there's going to be a large drive around increasing the number of disabled people in employment. So some of that will work around universities, will be on increasing the number of disabled staff that work within universities, but also supporting disabled students into employment after their studies. There's much starker statistics around the disability employment gap than these ones. So this is why the government are really going to, I think, push forward with this next year. They're bringing out a work, health and disability green paper. That's currently out, and they're consulting on that to look to sort of innovative ways that employers are increasing the number of disabled staff that they have. So again, that might be something that you would keep an eye on with your services as well, and the services that you provide, how you're recruiting your staff, whether you're looking to be a sort of disability confident employer, whether you've analysed your recruitment processes, and whether everyone's sort of aware of reasonable adjustments so you can increase the number of disabled staff within your service. The two major, I think, HE policy things to consider around then the different outcomes that have been happening. So at the moment, white students are much more likely to get first or a 2-1. Non-disabled students are much more likely to get into employment. So there's lots of stuff that can be done within a university to increase the opportunities that are provided to people and their outcomes. So the first is the Teaching Excellence Framework. Now, the Teaching Excellence Framework was announced last year within a higher education white paper. The higher education white paper talked about the new higher education and research bill that is currently nearly passed at the moment. That bill has a number of sort of policy outputs. So the current HEFE will become the Office for Students. Also, Office of the Office for Fair Access. The remit of that branch of HEFE will now do a lot more work around outcomes. So as I mentioned before, it's historically been about access and increasing the access of students into HE. Now it's going to look a lot more about outcomes. So that will be sort of attainment and employability. So there's going to be a push towards working in that area. The Teaching Excellence Framework itself, which is part of this paper, that includes some incentives for HE to work and to support disadvantaged groups. So, as it stands at the moment, there are some targets around if universities do support the disadvantaged groups and work around sort of decreasing the attainment gaps, increasing employment outcomes, then they will be able to charge higher fees. There's also, when they're talking about evaluating teaching, They're going to include benchmarks which include equality characteristics. So comparing, seeing sort of like looking at evaluations and satisfaction by equality characteristics. So there's clearly kind of an emphasis again around looking at equality within the teaching excellence framework. It also talks about accessibility, predominantly around physical accessibility. So I think a lot of this is around much more on the policy side, around the accessible policies, accessible services. Also, there can be some concerns around the TEF and around evaluating teaching. There has historically been quite a lot of research that shows that particular groups of staff get less favourable sort of satisfaction ratings, even though this doesn't necessarily at all relate to their teaching, but perhaps some sort of biases from a particular group, particular students. So there will, I think, be some work around ensuring that can have particular training for people. The kind of the final broad area of policy is around DSA reform, which I think will be something that hopefully most people are aware of. DSA reform, the rhetoric from the government is around putting an emphasis on the inclusive environment and individual reasonable adjustments, with what was historically DSA support funding now only being used as specialist support beyond reasonable adjustments. So this means that universities are going to have to do a lot more consideration around an inclusive environment, around how they fund their disability support, around making sure that their services they anticipate reasonable adjustments so they can reduce the kind of individual reasonable adjustments fees. And there's a lot more sort of going on behind the scenes around DSA reform. I think for this sort of, for now, the important thing is this push towards an inclusive environment, which I think most people will be very, very supportive of, if not actually supportive of the other reforms. So this will include, there's a disability sector strategy group, which is looking to support universities in the move from DSA to inclusive environment. So they produced a guidance document, which is going out to vice-chancellors, which is going to really highlight some of the risks of not considering this, so not moving towards an inclusive environment, the risks, the legal risks, the reputational risks, and also providing some sort of succinct kind of advice on what to do. In response to the DSA, so HEFE have actually doubled the funding that they have to support disabled students from 20 million in 2015-16 to 40 million for the next 2 years. The funding actually specifically cited that this extra bit of money is to support the transition to a more inclusive environment. So universities should be aware of that. They also are running a year-long project where they've asked for applications for funds to address barriers to student success. So I think there's about 12 different projects that are looking at experimental ways of making learning and teaching more inclusive, and they'll be reporting back next year. So there'll be hopefully some good practice that will be shared around there. I'd like us to have a quick chat about some of the things that we're doing. I know there'll be some people talk about it later, but just as a way of a bit of introduction, some examples that we're with, so the study division has developed guidance for academics and for other people within the institution around the inclusive environment and inclusive approach. So that's Anglia Ruskin, Brunel, ECU. We also have some guidance, and the Higher Education Academy does as well. The Plymouth have got a website all around sort of the inclusive environment, around teaching, assessment exams. I really would recommend looking at that. It's a fantastic resource. Many institutions are actually having designated staff in departments with a focus on disability who can help relay the messages from disability services to the rest of academics and messages from disabled students back to services and academics. So using them as conduits, that's a really helpful practice. And they also champion and promote disability equality. So Manchester Metropolitan and Nottingham are aware of doing that. Brighton are actually looking at their kind of programme design, considering what the course requirements are for particular courses, what the course outcomes are, competence standards, considering whether those are genuine, whether adjustments can be made to the types of assessment. So that's a really helpful piece of work that's going on. And also, some institutions are producing kind of a basic checklist of anticipatory adjustments. So that includes kind of Plymouth and Edinburgh. This is something that's going to be promoted strongly in the guidance from the Disability Strategy Group. Really thinking about some of the sort of anticipatory adjustments that everybody can expect to receive and that should just become part of the course. So those would include things like allowing audio recordings of lectures, having slides up in advance for academics. Also, what might be relevant is making sure that there are targeted reading lists that are available for each course. And there's various other sort of checklist requirements as well that are on these lists. So what I'd like, just for the last couple of minutes really, last sort of 5 minutes, is to think about what sort of stuff that you're doing at the moment to, in light of these DSA reforms, so these sort of anticipatory adjustments, what things are you doing within your service which are going to anticipate the needs of disabled students? We just have a couple of minutes, I think, and then we can sort of share some of those ideas. Does anyone have anything they want to say?
Thank you. So at the University of Westminster, what we are trying to do this year to support this, we are giving disabled students now double the virtual credit they get for completing their photocopy. So for example, every student at full time gets £17. Any student that's registered with a disability will get double that, so 34. And also we lend laptops, and for students that have any disability, again, we give it instead of 24 hours, 48 hours. So I think in that respect, at the University of Westminster, we are working towards meeting some of DSA requirements to give extra support to.
For the University of Creative Arts, we're a merged library and student services department, and we've created some learning support coordinator roles to go out into the academic sort of areas and find best practice that can then be shared amongst other areas that perhaps aren't as forward-thinking as those.
Has anyone done anything with kind of the copyright on particular kind of books and publications to make those accessible or available to people?
There's the e-book audit. Do people know about that? It's just reporting this week with where a group of I don't know whether you need this or if my voice is loud enough. Where a group of librarians across the country have worked with publishers to actually audit all the e-books. That's just reporting at the moment, so they've done a lot of work around that because obviously they're not accessible. You know, the theory is if it's an e-book, oh that's brilliant, but actually we all know that in reality they're quite difficult to use. So definitely have a look at that.
Any final?
My name's Ben Watson. I've been involved in that e-book audit, and it's been a labour of love. We all have day jobs, so I really appreciate the way that we kind of crowdsource that as a sector. But I just wanted to pay tribute to everyone who's helped us. The idea there is that we would we've just been discussing this on this table, that where we buy a commercially available electronic book, that absolutely should be the end of the story for me in terms of accessibility. But one of the big frustrations is that you kind of buy these books from your existing suppliers, and there's often no guarantee that that means that it is fully accessible, regardless of what suppliers might tell you. And often the only way you find out is when a student comes knocking on your door telling you that it doesn't work with JAWS or MBDA or something, which, as we all know, is way too late, because then if you want to go to learn or get it from an alternative, that takes time, and then there's an unnecessary and unfortunate delay for the student. So I think the idea behind that audit is not to beat suppliers up, although clearly there's an element of that if we wanted to play that way. But initially it's to be used as a guide to inform improvement. So with the data, there is a way that you can weight it to different kind of tasks that a student might wish to carry out. So if it's to do with colour contrast, you can see which platforms perform better. But we would like to see it used in a way to drive procurement, to put more pressure on suppliers, so that people can say when they're having time for renegotiating, absolutely you should say, well, you've not performed very well here, what are you doing about it? And I think if we can get them to a position where we buy an e-book and that's case closed, we can then concentrate on the more challenging stuff, rather than paying for stuff twice, because we buy the e-book in all good faith with a commercial supplier, and then if it's not accessible, we still have to do all that work locally, and that's not acceptable.
That's really helpful to know about all that. Again, so thank you very much for inviting us here today. It's been really interesting to hear some of the things you're doing. I hope that the rest of the day you get to hear a lot of sort of practical work that people are doing, and that some of the kind of the policy drivers are helpful in some way to sort of frame the things that you're doing. Just for information, this is sort of, you're going to receive copies of these slides, but this is our email address, our website, sorry. On that website, there's a couple of resources that I would highlight that might be helpful. So we've got some guidance around sort of sensory access for buildings and sort of that physical access as well, which I think is really, really important, talking about sort of different sort of signage and things like that. We've also got a training guide around anticipating reasonable adjustments to services. So again, I think that would hopefully be helpful to people. They're free to sort of download from the website. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.